What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. It is Tuesday, August 31st, and this is the live cut show. Don't want to say it too enthusiastically because then you come across as someone who's excited about, guys being cut from NFL rosters, but NFL teams that have to get down to the 53-man roster today. We're going to break down everything about it. Today's show is sponsored by Bud Light. That's right. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Pick Six presented by Bud Light. And you can share a limited edition, or we want you to share a limited edition Bud Light team can with us as you listen along. We're live on YouTube right now, so you can see the can for the fans, for the Panthers. Roar. Game day. 2 states, 1 team. Blue and black attack. Hashtag legends. Get your Bud Light limited edition team can sent to your house. Go to budlight.com/delivery to order. Budlight.com/delivery. Go get you a Panthers can or a Steelers bottle that Ryan Wilson's got back there, or I guess the Bengals things that you got.
I thought the Bengals cans were the nicest, to be honest. I'm judging not by the talent on the roster, but by the can itself. I rank it number 1 out of all 32 cans. I've seen all 32. I got a sneak peek.
I will say that I think the Bengals, the Panthers, just the nature of the Panthers, it's like it's blue on blue with Bud Light, So like you lose a little bit of pop, even though you have the alternate blues. Whereas with the Bengals, you have a very like orange and blue, the New York Mets style contrast. In fact, one could argue that the Bud Light can is far more attractive than the Bengals logo.
Oh, I was doing the New York. I was doing the
became the Cincinnati Bud Lights, and went with orange and blue as their colors. It would be better than their current setup.
The Cincinnati Bud Light Mets. Is that what you want?
There you go.
Speaking of the Bengals, by the way, our old friend Randy Bullock released.
Oh, he missed! He missed! Oh, and he may have pulled a hamstring or a muscle, and there is complete elation.
I get sad every time I hear it. And you know what? Here's the best part. Brinson's burying the lead here. Randy Bullock was so bad in Lions training camp that the Lions cut all their kickers. The Lions have 0 kickers on their roster right now. They decided they would rather not have a kicker than have Randy Bullock. So
wow, that is tough for Randy Bullock.
That is what's going on. And you know what? That could just Dan Campbell being crazy saying, you know what? Let's not have a kicker. We're going to go for it on 4th down. We bite kneecaps. And if you're a biter, you go for it on 4th down. That's pretty logical.
You know what my biggest takeaway is? Not only did he lead with Randy Bullock, but he started the podcast Breech by saying, I don't want to say cuts too loudly because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings for people losing their job. He fell out of his chair playing the Randy Bullock clip because that poor man got cut for not being good at his job.
By the way, speaking of notable podcast people that we talk about a lot who are involved in Cut Day, that's a great tweet from friend of the pod, Greg Rosenthal. JJ Arcega-Whiteside made the Eagles over Travis Fulgham, which is a case of just not accepting the L.
Oh, up high, down hard.
Seriously, Debo, what? JJ Arcega-Whiteside really over Travis Fulgham?
Arcega.
There's no justification. Greg is right.
Well, that was
Debo is defeated.
Oh!
Debo's
That's
given
my
up on the
take.
season 10 days before the start of the season. He is out.
If it makes you feel any better, I just drafted Jalen Reagor in our 26-team office league.
Should have drafted Devonta Smith.
Who?
Devonta Smith.
He wasn't available. It's the 8th round of a 26-team league. Anyway, but actually, we are bearing the lead here because the important thing to talk about, and if you want to listen to it, you can go check out our emergency podcast on the subject matter with myself and Ryan Wilson, about 10 to 12 minutes long. But Cam Newton cut by the Patriots, one of the first cuts this morning on Tuesday morning, and certainly the biggest cut, right? I mean, this is a breach. We didn't get your reaction, so I'll go to you first. Cam Newton released by New England, paving the way for Mac Jones to start on a scale of 1 to 10. How surprised were you?
Is a 7,000 an option? That is how surprising. That far above your 1 through 10 scale. I was shocked. I literally thought that, when you're on Twitter and you're scrolling through and you see news and you think someone got Adarn Schefter. That's the fake news Twitter guy that people start retweeting. That's what I thought I saw at first. And then you see it everywhere else. And, I think that after Cam had to miss those 5 days for violating COVID protocol last week, that the three of us agreed that, hey, that means Mac Jones could easily come in here and win this job. And that wasn't going to surprise any of us if Mac Jones ended up as the starter. But I don't think any of us thought there was any way they were going to cut Cam Newton if he didn't win the job. Like, that wasn't even on the radar. You keep him on the team. He knows the offense from last year. You let him be the backup. So this was just totally shocking. But, when you start digging into it.
And by the way, just really quickly, sorry, I got to give a shout out. One of our podcast listeners, Chris, I don't know his last name. I believe he's a Broncos fan. He is at Game Time CC. So I assume his last name begins with a C. He is DM me on Friday at like 6:00. It was like, if Mac is named the starter, the Pats cut Cam. I said, wow, that's a bold take, but that is certainly on the table. So good job by Chris to call the shot. I didn't see that coming, but I think maybe as you were about to say, Breech, when you start to think about it, it's one, if the vaccination thing is an issue with Bill Belichick, that's in play. Two, you have to have multiple playbooks if Cam Newton is your backup or if he's your starter. And then three, it's entirely possible Belichick went to Cam and said, hey, we're gonna go with Mac as the starter. Do you want to be the backup, or would you rather us let you go? And Cam was like, I just just go and let me go. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, any of those are absolutely possible. And yeah, that's what I was going to say, Brinson, is that if you're Belichick and Josh McDaniels, you're looking at your playbook and you're saying Cam and Mac Jones have such different skill sets that it makes more sense for Brian Hoyer to be the backup in this situation because he's more similar to Mac Jones. And then you say that to Cam, and it's very possible they did what you said, Brinson, and said, hey, look, do you want to stick around here and be the backup, or do you want to be let go and be a free agent? But yeah, this was just absolutely shocking. And then it just opens up this can of worms I think we're talking about right now, which is, what does Cam Newton do next? I mean, we're 9 days away from the start of the season, and he doesn't have a team to play for.
Yeah. He is your opening day Bengals quarterback. That's what I think.
Hey, he could be the Steelers quarterback of the future.
By the way, yeah, nice comeback. You're like my 9-year-old. Oh, yeah? Well, what about your team?
Yeah, but mine made more sense. It wasn't a comeback. It was an actual prediction.
Wait, what? I mean, I think there's a chance Cam retires before Ben.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be forced retirement. He has an option, but
well, I don't know that does have a lot of options. The Texans could be in play. The Cowboys
played well this preseason. It wasn't like last year where he clearly was not himself. I think it's just a matter, and this is what we talked about on the Cam Newton podcast that Breech was too busy cutting his grass to join us for, is that he doesn't want to be a backup presumably, and if he doesn't, that limits his options.
Well, that's my operating theory, is that I don't see very good landing.
There's no starting job for him. I mean,
the Texans would be the only option.
I don't think he's not starting in week 1 for the Texans.
No, let me ask you this though, Breech. So let's say he got cut in June, and I'm going to name the teams, and you tell me if he makes his team better or worse if he's the starter. The Giants.
Worse.
Oh, you'd rather have
close.
You'd rather have Daniel Jones? Who do you want, Brinson?
It's iffy. I'm not getting rid of a guy I just drafted for 1 year of Cam Newton. That is the deciding factor for me.
All right, the Bengals, and by that I mean Andy Dalton or Cam Newton.
Wait, what?
The Bengals. Sorry, the Bears.
The Bears. Is Justin Fields? Did I draft him?
You still drafted Justin Fields.
Then I probably keep Dalton.
The Lions. Why are you?
Jared Goff's got too much of a cap hit, I think, to go to Cam.
These are hard. Like, I'm not sure. I probably go Jared Goff because I don't think the Lions' offense would be any better with Cam Newton.
And what about that? Like, this will be the last one. The Carolina Panthers. They're better with Cam Newton than Sam Darnold. The Cam Newton that played this preseason, 100%.
I mean, look, he's not going back to Carolina.
I know, but my point is that if this had happened sooner, and this is not necessarily the Patriots' fault or Cam's fault, I'm just saying, like, to Breech's point, he's like, he's not going to find a job right now, and that's true because the season's about to start. But if this happened 3 months ago, 2 months ago, whatever, he makes some teams marginally better. Doesn't make them substantially better, but I think he makes some teams marginally better.
I mean, I think, like, would the Saints have considered it?
No, I would have kept Jameis. They re-signed Jameis, and they liked Jameis last year. I would have kept Jameis.
Okay. I'm like, there's
He's
no
more
one in the
pace of-
NFC. All right, there's no one in the NFC West that is going to even consider Cam.
In the NFC West.
Well,
No.
I'm just running through the.
Oh, okay.
Are we talking about as a starter or just signing?
Starter?
Okay, because I think the Cardinals would be an interesting fit if Cam Newton's willing to be a backup.
That's not terrible.
Would you rather be in Dallas or would you rather be in Arizona? And I'm just speculating again. I don't know who wants him.
If as a backup,
If
probably
I'm Cam,
Dallas.
Yeah, if you can.
yeah, I'd go to Dallas.
Right. Okay.
It's Dallas. You play for the Cowboys.
Also,
But the Cowboys could have signed Cam Newton last year, and they didn't.
Jerry Jones has been pretty emphatic about his players getting vaccinated, just for whatever it's worth.
Yeah.
He said it's part of the team, man. Because I got to be a teammate
For the greater good.
Greater
I think
good,
that's
for
what
the greater
JJ said.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones said.
Packers, no. Bears, potentially.
No, they're not gonna do that. I mean, they're open to trade Nick Foles. Is Nick Foles worse than Cam Newton?
They're just all in on Andy Dalton, so they're like, he's not going to the Bears.
No, they're all in. I think they're all in on Andy Dalton for like 2 weeks, and then I think it's going to be Justin Fields' time.
I just think they're committed to Andy Dalton. It's just
Oh,
hard to find a landing spot, man.
Well, they
That
paid him
would
$10
be
million.
the total Bears move, though, to add Cam Newton and then be like, all right, Dalton, you're going to start the first 2 weeks. Cam, you'll start the 2 weeks after that. Then Nick Foles the 2 weeks after that. And then Fields will put you in week 8.
Let me ask you this, Breech, because Brinson and I talked about this on the Cam Newton emergency pod. What about the Colts?
I don't hate that idea. You know, obviously, they just had a quarterback get injured. They're dealing with the same unvaccinated starting quarterback situation that we've seen around the NFL. You can't have, you don't know if Carson Wentz is going to be available, but I don't know that if Frank Reich wants to bring in another unvaccinated quarterback and be dealing with that exact same issue. So
you and Debo are higher on Carson Wentz than Brinson and I. Again, let's go back to the June scenario. Cam comes in June. He plays like he did in the preseason, which looks pretty good. Who do you think is better for the
Carson Wentz has a history with Frank Reich. I think that's the deciding factor there. I think that's why Reich would stick with
Wentz, but so does Frank
over
Reich's
Cam
high school
Newton.
girlfriend, and she got dumped. I mean, my point is that
Is
it
she a
doesn't necessarily
quarterback with NFL talent?
What is
be.
the
Something I don't know
unnecessary
here?
drive-by of Frank Reich's high school
Oh
girl?
my God. I hope she's not listening to the podcast.
Maybe she dumped him.
Wilson.
My point is that just because you have a relationship doesn't mean it's a good relationship.
Yeah, I mean, apparently it is, though, because he gave up
I hope
maybe
he
a
married his
first-round
high
pick to
school
get him.
sweetheart.
Oh God, that'd be terrible.
Well, I
wouldn't it?
mean, the obvious one is Washington to reunite with Ron Rivera. What did I'm sure you guys talked. What are your thoughts on
No,
that
we
one?
didn't. We didn't talk about
Okay,
that.
I think that would be the first one that would come up right now.
My first thought was Dallas as a backup. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick's better than Carson than Cam Newton right now for that offense. You don't think so?
Do you think Rivera would bring him in as a backup?
Well, he has.
Whoa! Breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Linda Fick, Reich's girlfriend from their days at Cedar Crest when he was a football star and she a cheerleader. Now his wife and mother of 3 children.
Oh man. Sorry, Linda. You said her name's Linda? I love that Brinson interrupts.
Well, so this proves my point then.
I guess
Wilson.
so.
What a big jam! Wallace took it in his hands and said, "Up and away!"
Wilson brings up the high school girlfriend, like, oh, they don't always end well. Nope, they do.
I know.
They do,
All right.
Wilson.
So listen, my apologies, Linda. Number 1 and number 2. Her name's Linda, right?
Yeah.
And number 2, I guess Carson Wentz is going to win the Super Bowl and go to the Hall of Fame. Brinson again dispensing terrible news because he's a terrible person. You mentioned the Reds. The
Ooh,
football
that was
team.
close. That was
I'm
close.
flustered.
The football team.
He has Kyle Allen, one of the Allens, the one he had in Carolina as well. So I don't know how many Carolina Panthers quarterbacks does he want on the roster.
Yeah, Kyle Allen is. They really like Kyle Allen. It's somebody, Kurt FJ, I think in the YouTube comments suggested the Ravens as a backup to Lamar Jackson.
RG3 is now doing television.
They have Tyler Huntley and Trace
Yeah,
McSorley.
and Huntley was so good in the preseason. I don't know if you want to put him any further down the roster. So
No, that's right. Huntley was good. That's a good point.
I don't
I
think,
think here's the problem with Cam Newton is that even if like maybe Cam is a better player than your current backup, you're trying to develop your current backup who's young.
Devo says cut Trace McSorley.
No, they did. They waived.
they did
Sorely.
cut
Story. I'm sorry. I was looking at the. Oh, yeah.
What
I thought you wanted to
about
cut him. Sorry, Debo. Thank you.
I was like, why? Yeah, I was like, why do you hate McSorley so much?
Yeah.
what about
it's-
Jacksonville? You give Urban Meyer this crazy, completely different skill set backup quarterback, and he can come up with a few funky plays to use during.
Do you want to do that to
the
your rookie
season.
quarterback?
I mean, you sat him out for 50% of the first team reps during training camp, so I don't think Urban Meyer will have any problem taking snaps away from his rookie quarterback.
But again, that doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Oh, I don't say it was a good idea. I'm saying from Urban Meyer's point of view. Urban Meyer's point of view and good ideas are mutually exclusive things, right?
There you go. Yeah,
I don't know that Cam Newton is gonna want to be a backup anywhere.
I'll pull the old.
So they
Wilson
sits
here.
out 2021.
I'll pull the old Wilson here.
Yeah.
Has Caesars updated their Cam Newton landing spot odds?
No.
That's not
I
something
haven't seen any.
because that feels like something that people would love to gamble on.
Those are generally just. Oh, here we go. Cam Newton next team odds. We'll find something. Oh, I'll unblock my ads one time.
Yeah, I fall for that one, and then it blows up in your face.
Wilson
having a tough
Sports
podcast.
Betting AG. The Steelers were the favorite at plus 550.
God, that's throwing your
Colts,
money away.
Cowboys, Washington next at 600. Fifth on the list. Cam Newton, the Panthers. Stop it. And along with the Ravens and Texans, the Cardinals. They're just listing teams.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's not a. There's nothing informative per se about the odds. I don't think that's more.
All right, so one team that he can start on
Texans
in a month. Yeah, that's actually maybe the only answer.
That's the only answer.
The Lions, he's probably better than Jared Goff, but as you mentioned, Jared Goff's getting paid a lot of money. They're not going to sit him on the bench.
Well, apparently the Dolphins don't want to be starting Tua, so maybe you.
That is, come on. There's a huge difference between
trying
Deshaun
to call
Watson.
and make it
But
Deshaun
there's a huge
Watson
difference
trade.
between Deshaun Watson and Cam Newton. 25.
All right,
Of course, there's a big difference, but I'm just saying that if you're trying to get Deshaun Watson, that means you're not 100% happy with Brian. Let's use your relationship analogy. It's you have a girlfriend,
it didn't work.
But you're still looking at all the other girls you're still on Tinder.
Here's my ice cold take presented by Bud Light. Cam Newton is going to walk away from football for the year 2022. He's going to say, I don't want to be a backup. I don't want to sit there and watch someone else play in front of me who I know that I'm better than or know that I'm more talented than. And Cam Newton likes to spend his free time in Atlanta, like wearing fashionable hats and bizarre clothes and foxtails and whatnot. So Cam Newton walks away from football in 2021 and ends up becoming a fashion Instagram male model. That is my hot take. That is my ice cold take presented by Bud Light.
So like the Derek Zoolander of NFL quarterbacks?
So pretty much, yes.
Derek Zoolander.
And Jared Goff, by the way, for the Lions has a dead cap hit. He has a dead cap hit. They're just not. His contract just eats up too much money. You got to see if he's the guy.
I don't think that's too crazy. Cam might just, if there's nowhere to sign and he wants to compete for a starting job and there's nowhere to do it, then you say, all right, you let your body heal for a year, take a year off football. And
the other thing too is that Cam is a tough one because he's polarizing. He has a lot of star power. He has a lot of, he is, if you, let's say you bring him to Miami and Tua struggles, fans are going to clamor for Cam to come in and replace Tua. And you sort of have to build a whole different package around Cam Newton. And so it becomes a lot of work from an offensive standpoint because, you have Jacoby Brissett who can just run. And I'm not saying that Cam can't be better than Jacoby, but I think the difference is probably negligible at this point. Cam has more upside, I guess, if he's healthy and playing well. But he just got smoked by Mac Jones in a quarterback competition.
Yeah. But if you bring Cam Newton in anywhere, unless you have an established starter, isn't that going to happen if the team struggles out of the gate? Look, Dak Prescott, Cowboys fans, like Dak, but he's coming off, obviously the ankle injury, the shoulder strain, and they open up with not an easy schedule. If you sign Cam Newton and you lose your first two games, which are both on the road at Tampa Bay, at the Chargers, and you're 0-2, don't you think fans are going to start saying, hey, can we put in Cam Newton? It's going to start craziness no matter where he goes. So you do have to be careful about bringing him in if you're a head coach because you don't want to disrupt team chemistry. Like
if the Washington football team brings in Cam Newton, I would think that Ryan Fitzpatrick would be a little miffed. He's like, hey guys, you told me I was going to be the guy. And I was going to try and, elevate the offense. And now you're bringing in Cam? Like that's putting.
And Ron will be like, look, Ryan, we've watched your film. You give us 4 good games a year. Then you're bad for 5 weeks, which is when Cam will play. And then we'll put you back in for your 4 good games again. And then we'll go back to Cam. I've got it all figured out.
Does anybody hate Ryan Fitzpatrick more than John Breech?
Are you kidding me? I'm Ryan Fitzpatrick's #1 fan.
That's not true.
It is true. Outside of the Fitzpatrick family, I'm the #1 fan.
Mm-hmm.
There are only 9 more days until fans are back in the stadium for the kickoff of the regular season. To celebrate, Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL, just unveiled their limited edition team cans designed for the fans. They sent us some. Of course, we have to check them out, right? Ryan Wilson, what you got there? Let's see what you got. Oh, Ryan actually discovered that his cans, not only there's a custom design for each fan base. For instance, I have for the fans. Oh, look at that. And if you can see it on youtube.com/pick6, but Bud Light has one like City of Champions, YINZ. And the Steelers, the bottles, the 12-pack bottles, glass bottles, have different types, individual different slogans on there. Whereas if you get the aluminum bottle, it's printed all over, like icy blue. Breech, I don't suppose you happen to have a Bengals bottle.
Drink them all.
Yeah, it's called drinking them all, Brinson.
Good.
I've had them for like
responsibly
2 weeks.
though.
Yeah.
You said that you were going to drink one every time the Bengals won a game.
I have one. Oh yeah, and well, did you watch the game on Sunday? They lost on a Hail Mary, so
you should have one in front of you. Then
no, the flip side is if you have a heartbreaking loss. Also, Evan McPherson hit a 57-yard field goal in that game. So I celebrated a beer with that. It's they're actually right behind me. If I get off screen, I can grab one. Do you want me to grab one?
Yes.
Wilson got up and went to the bathroom. I mean, I can get up.
Yes, you can stand up and get a unless you're not wearing pants and you're worried that we're going to see that.
Yeah, just crab walk your way over there.
These, by the way, these bottles are hitting stores now and are the only beer you're going to want to have in your fridge this season. So head over to budlight.com/delivery to find out how to get yours delivered. What do we have there, Breech? Game day. Touchdown. Okay. Could you read it off there?
He can't hear you. He doesn't have his headphones.
No, he doesn't have his headphones. All right. Again, that's great description of the Bengals. Again, that's budlight.com/delivery. Says you can't get John Breech to tell you what's on the Bengals can. Order yourself some Bengals cans to be delivered to your house. budlight.com/delivery. Enjoy one responsibly with us. Hooday! Isn't that the wait? What is the same?
Who dat?
Don't even say it, Brinson. It's still a sensitive topic between Bengals fans and Saints fans.
I mean, Saints clearly a better football team.
Yeah, but they stole the chant.
That's the least of your worries as a Bengals fan.
I mean, that's true.
All right, let's get to some other news. A bunch of the news and notes, and of course releases. If you're watching on youtube.com/pick6 and you want a take on something that happened around the NFL, feel free to ask us in the chat, and we will try and answer that for you. The Panthers, we mentioned them. They also waived Will Grier, former 3rd-round pick out of Charlotte, who went to West Virginia and then did not work out as the heir apparent to Cam Newton. The Cowboys waived Ben DiNucci and Garrett Gilbert, which means they pretty much have the worst backup situation in the NFL with only Cooper Rush behind him. Maybe Cam does make sense with the Cowboys.
Yeah, it's up to Cam, though. As we sort of laid that out.
Aren't you concerned about Dak's not healthy, and it might be 16 games of Cooper Rush.
Maybe what Jerry Jones was thinking was, well, we signed Andy Dalton last year, and he was terrible, so it doesn't matter who we put back there if it's not Dak Prescott. Because that felt like some dummy. I almost call myself a beehole. Thought that the Cowboys were going to win 9 games with Andy Dalton.
Cowboys are going to win 9 games.
So forget it. Put Cooper in there, see what happens.
Bill Romanowski in the chat asked if Cam will play on the team as a starter. And no, we do not think so. The Texans probably the only landing spot there if you missed.
No, wait a second, though.
No.
On Halloween, is Cam Newton a starter?
Oh, is that really Bill Romanowski? Hi, Bill.
Great.
Big fan. Halloween? No, I don't think he is.
Okay.
I mean, my hot take is that he's gonna be
male modeling in Atlanta.
Male modeling in Atlanta. That's right. Oh boy, the Lions released Brashad Perryman, which is not really that big of a news, except for the fact that I drafted him in a bunch of best ball drafts.
Former 1st-round pick.
And also, that's the most Lions thing ever, is to sign a free agent in March, guarantee him $2 million because you're so sure he's going to make the team, and then cut him. So
can you name the receivers on the Lions right now?
Jeez, a piece.
I can name
one.
3 of them.
Amon-Ra St. Brown's the only one I can name.
Tyrell Williams is on the team.
What about Quintez Cephas?
Quintez Cephas.
What? That sounds like Hingle McCringleberry.
Quintez Cephas went to, where'd he go? He went to like Nebraska or Indiana or something. Where'd he go?
I thought it was like somewhere in Georgia.
He went to Wisconsin.
Okay.
I think. I'll double check. But
actually, like randomly, we were down in Lake Oconee for our for our golf trip, and I ran and met some folks when we were out to dinner who they'd grown up with Quintez Cephas.
That's a fascinating story. Did you find $20 per chance?
I did not. So anyway, are you concerned about the Cowboys?
I think I say you're concerned about the Lions. Yes, I'm very concerned about the Lions.
Yeah. Aaron Schatz was on the show earlier today show. I need to tweet that out and said that he actually likes the Lions over 4.5.
Yeah. All right. Show me where they're coming from. And
I mean, the under is so low. It's a 17 game schedule. So you can still lose 12 games and you get the 5 wins. So, I mean,
what if you lose 13 games? Then what do you get?
Then you don't get the 5 wins, Ryan. That's called math.
That's called losing. That's very obvious.
What was the over under? Again, pulling a Wilson. What was the Jaguars over under a year ago? I mean, it wasn't 1.5.
No, it wasn't.
Right? It was probably 4 or 5 or 6 or something.
I think it was 4.5.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, they're bad teams out there. And this team feels worse than the Jaguars team a year ago.
They don't have a kicker. That's all you need to know about the Lions.
It happens.
0 kickers on the roster.
That is weird. The money badger, Michael Badgley, speaking of kickers, was cut by the Chargers. Breech. Surprise there.
You know what? I am surprised because he was competing with Tristan Vizcaino, and they both didn't have a great training camp. And so usually when that happens and you have 2 guys that are playing about equally, you stick with the guy who's been with you. Badgley's been there for 3 years. But they brought in competition because he only hit 72% of his field goals last year. He was in the bottom 4th of the league in accuracy. So they had to do something. You can't call yourself the money badger and miss 9 field goals, which is what Badgley did last year. So it kind of feels like the Chargers just wanted to move on from Badgley, and they were just waiting for Vizcaino. Just show us something so we can cut Badgley, and it never really happened. And so they said, all right, you know what? We're just going to get rid of him, and we're going to move on from Badgley. So very interesting to see the Chargers make a change at kicker because, Brinson, as you know, Chargers are the one team that just cannot find a kicker to save their life.
Indeed. The Chicago Bears got rid of Desmond Trufant, which, man, I mean, the Bears are not exactly stacked at cornerback.
Yeah, their defensive backfield was an issue, and their offensive line was an issue. And Trufant, clearly they didn't think enough of his preseason to keep him, but that doesn't solve their problems.
Yeah, I mean, they basically have like Jalen Johnson and Artie Burns, a couple of rookies, Duke Shelley.
Get rid of Kyle Fuller in the offseason. And Charles Leno, by the way, the offensive tackle. Again, positions they desperately need to add depth to.
Yeah.
By the way, before you go on.
Oh, the Bears also cut rookie wide receiver Daz Newsome.
Yeah. He wasn't great coming out of college. Like he played in that high-powered offense, and De'Ami Brown, who I think was the 2nd-round pick of Washington football team, was the more dynamic player. But, I mean, that team was all about the running backs and Sam Howell. So that's sort of surprising that they drafted him and then he immediately got cut got cut. That's the last wave here, but he was undersized and he wasn't very fast. I think he ran the high 4.5s. But I just want to point this out before we go on, just about, how we have the conversation about that national championship football team could beat Jaguars, Lions, whomever. So Phil Yates at ESPN tweeted this out. So the 2018 Alabama football roster had 3 future starting quarterbacks in Tua, Jalen Hurts, and Mac Jones, 2 future first-round picks in Josh Jacobs and Najee Harris, and then Damian Harris went in the 3rd round to the Patriots, 4 future first-round picks at wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, 4 other first-round picks, Jedrick Wills, the left tackle for the Browns, Alex Leatherwood, who was a first-round pick of the Raiders, Patrick Surtain, the cornerback for the Broncos, and Quinnen Williams, the defensive tackle for the Jets. So do you guys think a team of Alabama NFL players could be
Jaguars?
I mean, I think they would
beat the Texans.
I
think a team of Alabama NFL players would beat the Texans.
No,
this
team
doesn't
right
have to be from 2018. It can be from any year.
Yeah, not beat the Texans. So would they win more games than they lose? So over under 8.5. Right.
I mean, the problem is you have 3 quarterbacks, but that doesn't really do you that much good.
Yeah, but I mean, just these Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. It's a great
offense is scoring a ton of points.
They don't have a kicker.
They don't want
right now.
I feel like this team. I would have to go through the entire roster. Maybe that's something I'll do in my free time.
I mean, you have 2 tackles in Jonah Williams and Jedrick Wills. Boom.
Oh, Jonah Williams too. That's right. And
or Cam Robinson with Jacksonville.
There you go.
So I mean, because the offensive line is the key to all this. Because if you don't have a good offensive line,
you got Landon Dickerson.
You're getting crushed.
Just put the band back together and go. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, defensively, you've got Donta Hightower, Jonathan Allen.
Christian Barmore's having a really good preseason.
Barmore,
Minka,
Landon
Minka
Collins, Fitzpatrick, Ronnie Harrison,
Marlon Humphrey,
Marlon Humphrey.
Oh, yeah, this team is winning.
Think of your receivers. You have Jalen Waddle, Henry Ruggs, Julio Jones, Jerry Jeudy, Amari Cooper,
Calvin Ridley.
They're going undefeated. This team,
receivers are stacked.
This
At tight end, you got OJ Howard and Irv Smith. I mean, this is like
all right.
Quentin Williams, Xavier McKinney.
You guys are talking about will they beat the Texans? Yeah, they'll beat the Texans.
Well, they have Derrick Henry at running back. I mean, this team is stacked.
Melvin
they would win the Super Bowl.
Mark Ingram, who I totally forgot about when they were staying at midfield, look 4 feet short. Yeah, this team is going undefeated.
Kenyon Drake, Najee Harris. I mean, this is like that. The running back depth. It's like it would be the best. They would have the best receivers and running backs in professional football.
Tweet that out, Brinson. Say let's make the over under 11.5.
I feel like their biggest weakness would maybe be linebacker.
Well, Dante Hightower's playing.
That's one.
CJ Mosley.
Rashawn Evans.
As Mosley?
Yeah, Rashawn Evans. Yep.
Yeah. CJ Mosley.
Reggie Ragland.
Oh, Reggie Ragland.
That's a little depth right there.
Yeah.
Mac Wilson.
Yeah.
This is a good team.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not getting now. If you get a bunch of injuries, this team is done. But
but we're going. You always work under the assumption that people can say so. 11.5.
Dalvin Tomlinson on the interior too. Golly.
Did we even say like Pat Surtain?
Yeah. No, I mentioned that. That was in Fields' original tweet. So
okay.
I'm asking you guys 11.5. Are you taking the over or the under?
I'm not fading Alabama.
What division are they playing in? Are they like in the NFC West or are they in the NFC East?
They're the AFC South.
Okay, AFC South. I might take 11.5.
Oh, they would definitely. They're minus 125 to win the division. I mean, that's
Brinson, that tweet will get Breech. You could tweet it. That tweet will get you like 40,000.
Is Nick Saban coaching this team?
The twist is that Zach Taylor has to coach the team.
What a big jam!
Bang
Dixie
the under.
Dunkaroo.
All right, sorry to get off track there, but I saw that tweet and it's sort of related to cut day because we always talk about
we need to make it out into a depth chart, and then you're like, does this over under 11 games?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I'm banging the over.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, what
you were going to talk about Desmond King. You talked about, or Desmond Trufant. You talked about who's next on the list.
Oh, the Vikings traded for Chris Herndon with Irv Smith, looking like he is going to be out for some time, and that I find that spicy. I like that fit.
Now it's been 2 or 3 years since Chris Herndon was something. I think maybe he got injured or for some reason he didn't.
Yeah, he's had some off-field stuff and got injured and just never popped. Everybody's waiting for it to pop, but maybe this is the post Adam Gase bump that he needed going to Minnesota.
You're crushing Adam Gase.
Low-hanging fruit, bro.
I love that in the rundown, Debo just puts Eagles. The whole Eagles team got cut. Holy crap!
That was Brinson.
Oh, of course.
What? I didn't like the whole Eagles team got cut.
No, but you put Eagles as a
Eagles.
Whose cursor is hanging over that right now, Brinson?
Yeah, that's Brinson.
I didn't write Eagles in there.
Okay, sure you didn't.
We have a starting quarterback in Philadelphia officially.
That's right.
Jalen Hurts. I see what you wrote there. And then Travis Fulgham got cut, which is sort of mesmerizing because we were talking for the podcast that J-Jaw remains on the roster.
We talked about that on the podcast.
I can't remember. That's fine.
They also announced that Jordan Mailata will be the starting left tackle.
Oh, boy. What happened to
Andre Dillard? Yes, it's Devo, your thoughts on the former rugby player starting at left tackle for Jalen Hurts?
Let's go. I mean, not great that a first round pick has not lived up to expectations,
Or
but
we're going to beat out by a 7th round pick? Not great.
Not ideal.
Dang it.
I'm all in on Australian rules players.
So Debo, what happened to Andre Dillard? I haven't watched him in a while.
He just is not. I mean, he's dealt with some injury issues, but not lived up to expectations. And a lot of people praise the Eagles for moving up in the draft and taking him away from the Texans, and the Texans then reached for lineman's name?
Titus Howard.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just has not lived up. Continuing the line of questionable Howie Roseman decisions.
Here's the thing, and I don't know if this is how it played out with the Eagles because I haven't watched Andre Dillard in Philadelphia, but I remember watching him at Washington State. He played in that Mike Leach offense, which is air raid is with Gardner Minshew. Air raid is all get out. So he didn't do any run blocking, and maybe he lacks physicality, but he looked really good as a pass blocker coming out. And then you sort of have to just do the math. Okay, how's he going to be as a run blocker? And clearly didn't work out well in that offensive line.
Yeah.
Did he play a lot last year with everyone hurt, Debo, or was he part of the injury crew?
He was just a part of that injury crew. I mean, Jason Peters was in there, Mailata. They moved around some guards. It was revolving door at left tackle recently.
All right.
Did you buy a Gardner Minshew jersey yet?
Who?
Debo.
I don't recognize our third string quarterback.
You best recognize because he'd be your starter in about 6 weeks.
UBSS. Breech versus Debo. Hey, what was that claymation fight stuff? The fight show on MTV used to be called. What was that? Remember that?
I do remember it.
Yeah, no.
What was that? That's what I want a Debo versus Breech claymation.
You want a celebrity death match between us?
Celebrity death match. Well done, Breech. Yeah, I want to see
good
that.
call.
Yeah, that was awesome. All right, sorry. Go ahead.
The Steelers in news that is not related to the Eagles and or Breech or Debo. The Steelers cut my boy Jalen Samuels, cut by awkwardly his old offensive coordinator Matt Canada, who's now the OC, was the OC here in Raleigh for NC State, now the OC for Pittsburgh, and they decided not to hold on to J-Sam Wilson. I found that to be pretty surprising. I think J-Sam could be a nice little pickup for a team that likes to use its running backs in pass catching roles more.
Yeah, his sort of lasting memory in Pittsburgh is when every running back was hurt a couple years ago, and he ran for like 125 against the Patriots late in the season. They actually won that game. That wasn't the Jesse James game where he caught it and he didn't catch it. He actually helped lead them to victory. I think I like J-Sam too. I would have kept him. I thought it was not surprising because we knew it was going to happen. Some Steelers fans were like, why is Benny Snell going to make it when he was injured for most of training camp? And he's basically carries the ball for 2.5 yards. But Tomlin likes him and they kept Benny Snell. And I think J-Sam's biggest sort of knock against him, if you will, is that he is not strictly a running back. He's sort of a jack of all trades. And he did a lot of that.
After as a tight end, I believe.
Right, exactly. So I think that could be, it's not a bug, it's a feature, but it has to be the right system. And it feels like something the Patriots or the Saints will sign him and he'll, have 800 receiving yards this year or something.
Yeah, I could see him actually being, let me make sure that he won, maybe it was, no, he was drafted as a running back, but he made the all ACC preseason team as a tight end.
Right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, he's not a pure running back. He's an offensive.
He can do it.
It's just surprised that, it's surprising. Yeah. In college, he was listed as running back, fullback, wide receiver, and tight end. It's surprising that Matt can't, I don't know. I'm just surprised that they released him. I mean, it feels like they must be giving a ton of carries to Najee Harris here.
Well, they didn't give him a lot of run in preseason. He was in the fourth quarter, and then Najee Harris can be number one. Anthony McFarland, who's sort of a change of pace.
And who also played with Matt Canada at Maryland.
And Maryland. A change of pace, speedy back is going to be the number two. And then Kalen Ballage made the team. He had a pretty good training camp. And then, of course, Benny Snell. So they have 4 guys for now. And then Derek Watt is the
I forgot Ballage was there. I would have taken J-Sam over Ballage, but that's just me.
Fair enough.
Okay. Chiefs waived Darwin Thompson. Not a crazy notable move, but I think it's important for fantasy because if you are drafting in your fantasy draft, Darrell Williams is now the key primary back for the Kansas City Chiefs. Key primary backup, for the Kansas City Chiefs, of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the main back there, and then Jerick McKinnon behind him and Derek Gore. So Darrell Williams with Clyde Edwards-Helaire dealing with an ankle thing, even though he'll probably be ready to go in week 1. Darrell Williams probably a pretty good flyer near the end of your drafts.
Yeah, I was a Darwin Thompson fan. He played at Utah State with Jordan Love.
Me too.
But it's a numbers game, and if you're like a lot of other guys, sometimes you're going to be the person getting the short end of the stick.
That is correct. The Raiders, according to a report, I think Tom Pelissero of NFL Media had this one out there, said that John Brown, smoke, asked for his release from the Raiders, and he was granted that release. So Brown dumped by the Bills, signs with the Raiders, now no job. I wonder if he'll have a market. He's a straight line guy.
Yeah, I feel like he'll have a market. You have a guy. Yeah, he finished.
He was good in Buffalo.
Nearly 500 yards last year.
Who gets on the field first in the regular season? Smoke Brown or Cam Newton?
John Brown.
John Brown's 31, by the way.
I was gonna say you're on the wrong side of 30 as a receiver.
He's gonna sign a veteran minimum deal. You pay him $1 million a year, and he goes out there and runs 9 routes all day. I mean,
he's got 2,000-yard seasons in his career. He should. I wonder with the Raiders that. I guess Brian Edwards they want to give run to as a 3rd-round pick from 2020, and then Henry Ruggs, of course. Hunter Renfro's in there. You're going to see Darren Waller. I heard Peter Schrager on the Ringer Fantasy Show saying that he hears that Foster Moreau, is going to catch a bunch of passes too. So maybe John Brown just looked at the situation and realized, man, there's just there's too many mouths to feed here. I want out, and the Raiders were willing to let him go. The Bengals. I think everybody cares about the Bengals, but they released Mike Daniels. Bit of a shot there, Breech.
Brinson, first of all, everyone cares about the Bengals. I feel like I've gotten so many tweets about how we should just make this a Bengals-only podcast. But I tell those people, no, there's 31 other teams we need to talk about. Mike Daniels, I would say, not totally surprising. We saw yesterday the Bengals traded with the Giants. They brought in a defensive lineman with B.J. Hill. And so, again, like Wilson said, it's a numbers game. You brought someone in. You've got someone's now going to have to be expendable. And that ended up being Mike Daniels. I actually thought mildly more surprising cut, but not completely surprising from the Bengals, was Michael Jordan. Not that Michael Jordan. He was a starting guard last year. He started 10 games. And I will say, when you look at those two cuts, if the Bengals feel like they've upgraded so much that they can cut a guy who started on their defensive line last year and a guy who started on their offensive line last year, because they feel that they've gotten way better at those two positions, that is a good sign. So Mike Daniels, Michael Jordan, the two Mikes, Mike and Ike, they're gone.
What'd you think of the 3 snaps that Joe Burrow took in the final preseason game?
The best 3 snaps I've ever seen a quarterback take in the preseason.
The highlight of the Bengals 2021 was Joe Burrow limping out on the field and getting a standing ovation
and throwing a pass to Jamar Chase that he
what did Jamar do to it? That's a huge concern. Like Zach Taylor's playing it down and Joe Burrow's playing it down. Jamar Chase is playing it down, and Jamar Chase never had a history of struggling with drops. He dropped 2 games in the second preseason game. Dropped another one in this game. I mean, are you at all a little concerned about what's going on?
Yeah, definitely. There's like a 20% concern. I mean, unless it starts happening in the regular season, and then if it does, then Jamar Chase just becomes a super decoy, and you start throwing to T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd more.
For the 5th overall pick?
Hey, if it makes the offense better, Ryan. Decoys are good.
All righty.
You don't know anything about decoys, do you?
No.
Bill Romanowski, still in the chat, wants to know, will Trey Lance take over the Reigns in San Francisco?
The raisins? Are you serious?
Oh, he's about Reigns anyway. That's Reigns.
It's raining.
Right.
Rain Trey Lance.
You don't take over precipitation. You take over the.
Not with that attitude.
Yes, that's true. Trey, I don't think so. I think they are really going to alternate quarterbacks like they did in the 3rd preseason game. And Trey Lance has a chipped fingernail, I guess, or chip finger. That's what they're calling a chip in his finger.
Is that like a micro chip on the bone?
He got vaccinated. They put the chip in his finger. Now we know where he is.
But I mean, this is like slightly concerning. And Kyle Shanahan said he can't even take snaps right now because the finger it needs to heal. It chipped, yeah. Like so,
Speaking of chips, have you had the Cape Cod sweet and spicy jalapeno chips? My goodness, they are good.
Jesus,
Cape Cod.
This is the dog from Up.
I can't afford Cape Cod chips, Brinson.
But Brinson mentioned that they're going to do this back and forth thing. I don't know. number one, Jimmy Garoppolo obviously isn't going to be comfortable with it, not because he just wants to play, but also in terms of getting in a rhythm as a quarterback. I don't know if Trey Lance is going to be able to get into a rhythm as a quarterback either, unless the plan is to have him run the ball a bunch, which is what he did in those first few series. So I think they might lean on Jimmy G and try to, fingers crossed he stays healthy. I think as long as he stays healthy, he remains a starter if he's playing at a B level or better.
And also, they open up against the Lions and the Eagles. No offense, Debo. Both of those are winnable games. And I think that because Trey's dealing with this finger chip, that if you go into Detroit, and you're up 20-0, you start Jimmy Garoppolo and you get up early. You don't even think about playing Trey Lance. You just let him heal for another week. You go to Philly. If you get up early, you don't even think about let him heal because you don't want that finger to get worse. And then implement your 2 platoon system when you're playing teams that might actually beat you. I don't think the Eagles can beat them. Can they? Debo, who would you pick in that game right now?
The Philadelphia Eagles.
Didn't even hesitate either.
By 2 touchdowns.
Oh
nice.
God. By 2 touchdowns. That's hilarious. But yeah, so I don't think that Trey Lance is going to be. If he starts this week, let's put the over under at week 7.5. Trey Lance gets his first start. 7.5.
Barring non-injury, I think it's over.
I will also take the over there. I think that Trey Lance will. And the reason I think I like the over is that I think Jimmy Garoppolo will win games for the 49ers. I think the 49ers roster is good enough that they will keep winning games. And I don't think that Kyle Shanahan will bench Jimmy Garoppolo if they have a good record and if he's playing well. And it gives him time to keep easing Trey Lance into the starting role. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
And the 49ers bye is in week 6. That's why I gave you guys 7.5 as the over under. Maybe you thought they'd come out of the bye and start them in week 7.
All right, what's next?
Pup list announcements. These guys can't come back until week 7. Who would you say is the biggest loss for their team? Michael Thomas, David Bakhtiari, or Stephon Gilmore?
I mean, Gilmore, Bakhtiari, and Michael Thomas all seem pretty important to their teams, what they do. Bakhtiari, perhaps the most. I know Aaron Rodgers is great at what he does, but he doesn't like getting hit like every other quarterback. It's just a matter of him getting the ball out quicker.
I would say Bakhtiari by a lot.
Yeah, I think so. Michael Thomas, but we'll see. Like Marquez Callaway has come on in New Orleans, and that's great and all. But
yeah, preseason.
My point is that if you don't have a wide receiver to go to, and you have Alvin Kamara, and then to help you in the backfield, and then Jameis Winston sort of, trying to do it on his own.
Jameis Winston doesn't need a receiver to throw it to the other team, Ryan.
Throw it to himself. All right.
Right.
This guy hates Jameis Winston.
Yeah,
so
I
Ryan
agree. It's
Fitzpatrick and Jameis
Bakhtiari.
Winston.
Bakhtiari feels like the answer.
All right. Anything else? And yeah, I mean, Stephon Gilmore, he's sort of, it's a weird situation. There's even talking that he might get cut. And Michael Thomas, if he's back in week 7, I think the Saints would be pretty thrilled given how their whole offense is set up. But yeah, Bakhtiari, certainly the bigger deal in that case. All right. Anything else to add before we get out of here? Nope.
The Buccaneers cut Ryan Griffin, who is most notable for being Tom Brady's wingman and carrying drunk Tom Brady off the boat in the parade.
So
Good
Blaine
point.
Gabbert and Kyle Trask. Kyle Trask is the 3rd round pick, I believe. I still stand by the idea that Blaine Gabbert starting 17 games would lead the Buccaneers to the division title.
Cool. That's a weird time.
That can be Ryan's bold prediction for Thursday.
We will be back to, let's see, we'll have tomorrow, got my boy Gup from GupsCorner.com on to do some more gambling content. Then we'll have Kenny White on later in the week to talk week 1 line. Subscribe, rate, and review. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. For Ryan and John,